quickly, so if we take 3 minutes longer than noted, then that's probably why. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to our, is it October already?
It is.
Wow. Our October Construction Advisory Committee, kicking off a new year. Last meeting was mostly procedures and legalities. So we're looking forward to, grabbing some new topics from the board. I think we kind of wrapped up what we had tried to accomplish last year. So with that, moving on to the agenda, some housekeeping items. We start off with review and approval of the minutes from 2 weeks ago. If anyone had a chance to review them, Ms. Harper emailed them out about a week or so ago. If there's any comments now, otherwise, I see not having any. I see a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Watkins and seconded by Mrs. Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously approved. Thank you for that. Moving on, we next have board member update. We'd like to welcome Ms. Morgan, our new
Thank
board liaison.
And is the discussion following my
It is.
all right, great, okay. So I am gonna ask just quickly, because we have staff here from the Lee County School District, and I know the topic is education. Vocational education and that kind of thing. So I'm just gonna ask you quickly to identify yourself and what you're.
I should have
No,
done the
that's okay.
introductions.
What industry you're from or whatever, so that, and then we'll introduce staff on this side.
So I'm assuming I'm starting because you're
I'm
staring at me, so that's fine. No, Jackie Brown, I'm a licensed interior designer, do commercial and residential design. Have one daughter in the district, I've been here for about 14 years.
Art Castellanos, architect.
Ellis English, retired. I was a developmental engineer for Intel Systems, Microsoft Tech, Federal Reserve, Customs, Immigration, you name it. Mostly secure facilities for the Department of Defense for 22 years. Know a little bit about education, not much.
Trent Swartz, currently with Charles Perry Partners, licensed certified general contractor. Been in the industry for 25 years or so, and just first time on a committee, so looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Jack McStravick, GFA International. We do provide building official attesting services for the school district. Product of the school district and have 2 children go through it, and my wife's a teacher.
Darren Watkins, I'm the vice chair here. I'm a civil engineer, work for Thomas Marine Construction. We build bridges and roads and civil structures around town. I've been on the committee here for probably 6, 7, something like that years. My wife's a teacher at Alva. I have 2 kids at Alva and one at Riverdale. And I work on the ag program at Riverdale now. So we built a barn there, and
Wow.
it's almost done being constructed now. So. Bob Taylor, a principal architect with ADG Architecture. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. I've worked with the district forever. I have 3 children that have graduated from the Lee County School District system.
Ryan Richards, this year's president. Partner with RG Architects, do primarily institutional and schoolwork. Been on this committee over the past, I don't care to admit.
I'm Kathleen Morgan, I'm on the Lee County School Board, I'm the liaison to this group on behalf of the board. I'll turn it.
And then I'm Todd Eberly, I'm the director of our Public Service Academy, retired as the assistant chief from Cape Coral before I've been in the district since 2012, and actually graduated from the County School District myself.
My name's Charlie Pease, I'm the director of Cape Coral Technical College.
John Roselle, I am the director at Fort Myers Technical College, and like Todd, I am a product of the Lee County school system as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Rita Davis. I'm the director for adult and career education and graduated MiddleHigh.
Now, I asked them to come because when I spoke with Ryan, he said that you all were interested in talking about VOTech. And so I'm going to just talk a little bit about what we did at the board meeting yesterday in terms of our legislative agenda. And I think it would be great if we talk a little bit about where the district is going with respect to vocational education, and et cetera. So yesterday when we met, one of the things you should be aware of, that we are planning to put together a pilot for the legislature regarding the recruiting and retention of instructors for the VOTEC, because our experience as a school district has been that the demand for students with certifications in virtually all industries exceeds our ability to provide an educational opportunity too. And that is primarily a function of the fact that we can't get instructors. Because people coming from the trades or from some of the other professions that we are talking about getting certifications for make considerably more than they would coming in as a classroom teacher. And to the extent that someone like Lee Health has been able to provide staff for us, we're able to meet some of their demand for certified individuals, but we haven't established a way, either locally or at the state level, to figure out how we can provide supplemental pay for instructors in VOTEC. So that's one thing I wanted you to be aware of. It's what it says right now is provide funding for the recruitment and retention of CTE instructors for high demand programs based on labor market alignment. And I'd just like you all to be aware, because to the extent that you're involved with trade associations and there's any interest in your groups in terms of working with us on proposals about how we might do this, you know, we're obviously interested in the conversation. We are going to ask them to convene a work group or task force to review and update the size and space and occupant design criteria as SREF to better meet district needs. And then the other one is due to industry standards for construction costs increasing 6.5% year over year for the past 3 years. Provide flexibility in section 101.3.64 on total cost per student station construction requirements. So those are some of the things that the school board is considering as we move into the 2021 legislative session. And again, to the extent that any of you are interested in these topics, obviously, you know, we would be looking to partner, you know, with people, you know, as we move forward. Now, the reason I asked this group to be here is because I got the impression from Ryan that there was some interest in whether or not we're going to expand our Career and Tech Academy operations, and also where we stand with respect to program development in response to local need. So I think we should just throw it open to questions from you guys, or, you know, I will simply say, if you're not aware, the district is planning to move an adjunct to the Fort Myers Technical College, looking to build one in Lehigh. That is a commitment the district has made. That is as far as we have gone at this point. And go ahead, Todd.
Just touch on that, and then I'd like each of the directors, and I'm sure Rita will have something too on the CTE side. So originally, a couple years ago, there was a plan, and as the board member Morgan just mentioned, and I kind of mentioned to some of you when you were asking those questions, the district is looking for current property now, the I-75 Lehigh corridor type of area, large enough. Originally, about 3 years ago, I actually helped produce a white paper on if a fourth site was located, what would happen, who would move there, and at that time, and it has changed, so it's in the history, Fort Myers Technical College would have gone to the new site, so they were looking for property big enough for their expansion and what they were doing. The current Public Service Academy, which we've outgrown, and as I mentioned to you, we cover all 5 counties. We don't cover just Lee County. We cover every police department, fire department, corrections department, EMS, and all advanced and specialized training comes through us. We're the 5th largest in the state for law enforcement out of the 40 academies statewide, but we are the only academy in the statewide that we have all of those disciplines under one roof and one director. There's nobody else in the state has it as we do. So we are the largest in the state. We're at an elementary school. That produces problems because when you didn't have people driving to school, we have major concerns of where we're putting all these cars. And we struggle, we got $1 million fire tower in the back. We have grounds, we are tight, every room is closed down, and it's an old school, it's the 60s, it's Michigan Elementary Montessori. The plan was a couple of years ago was to take the academy and move it to the Fort Myers Technical site. Because we have to outsource two things. We have a great partnership with the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Don't ever see those types of changes, but we don't have an indoor gun range. We use Lee County Sheriff's Office for our training as our primary. Cape Coral is building, where I retired from, is having their own training center, and that is up and running, should be up in the next 2 days, 2 years off of Zimmel Road, and we'll use that as a secondary. The other problem is a driving track, which is, we were talking, and Dr. English was mentioning, every agency uses the Buckingham Airfield. So, the plan was at that point is that we would have put in an indoor gun range for our use, so we're not dependent on an agency, and have our own driving track there as well. And the buses, school buses, they can do their training on our off times, and it can be a multi-use type of facility. That has changed since, where Fort Myers Technical College will still remain and offer and have another, wherever that decision was going to be, which was going to be now, the I-75 corridor, and build it large enough and find enough property to also move the Public Service Academy to that site with it. So they're going to have to find a big enough piece of property to have the needs of the public service throughout Southwest Florida on that site, along with the expansion, going up probably more for them, out more for public safety, because of the outdoor facilities that they need to do. And move that and build the fourth school. I like to let Charlie and John and then obviously Rita speak about that and where they're at now, because as board member Morgan has already mentioned, there are already plans moving and expansion and new programs coming in and those needs assessments and everything. So I'll let Charlie, go ahead, sir.
So again, I'm at Kimco Tech College, and there is a 5-year plan, as Todd mentioned. Right now, our full expansion is probably 5 to 6 years out, so we're not fully in the 5-year plan at the moment because there's going to be a lot of improvements and expansion at Fort Myers Tech. However, we do have some meetings scheduled in the next couple months with different folks in the community, as well as different people in the district, to come out and discuss the possibility of doing some smaller scale growth with our program. So I'm really interested in doing an auto service technology academy and potentially a steel building that would abut right up. We have plenty of land out there. It would abut right up to our parking lot. So I'm going to be advocating for that here, and I already have started. We've had some meetings recently. It would be a 5-bay, so 5-bay auto service technology academy with the lifts and everything, and the classroom attached next door. If we could make that happen, I'm going to be looking and discussing with Todd and other folks in the community where we can find some partnerships for potential funding, if that's something that a direction the district wants to go. I do have an opportunity to potentially revamp a space within our current existing building into a welding academy or plumbing or electrical or something like that. So we're going to explore that. And the bottom line is that my goal by 2022 is to have some sort of skilled trade or blue collar program, whether it's the two that I mentioned would be ideal, but at least one by 2022, that getting creative beyond the actual 5 or 6 year capital outlay plan. So that's what I'm going to be advocating for, and we've already had meetings with some of the chiefs in the district, and that people are going to be coming out to discuss further options.
Yeah, and at Fort Myers Technical, just to follow up on what Director Pease is saying in the skilled trades, currently we cannot put enough skilled workers out there to meet the demand. We are full max enrollment. We are doing the best we can, but we got to grow and we got to expand. Now, I'm very pleased to see that the district is going to do an RFQ here quick, and we're getting behind it to help in that expansion program. My goal would be to take the existing skilled trades programs to expand them as much, kind of double them, if you will, in my welding and in my various, carpentry, and my electricity, and my plumbing classes, and all those, because that's where the demand is. Double those classes, maximize our space on campus, and then phase 2, looking to bring in some new programs. It is a very exciting time. The enrollment numbers are gonna be huge, we anticipate in January, we're already gonna be full. The demand's out there, we just can't keep up with it. But we are seeing some headway, and the district is investing in us, and we're gonna start moving forward, we're gonna make those expansion projects, do the upgrades so we meet industry standards, because of a lot of our programs. If I added a program, I would kind of be neglecting a program that is in really high demand. So I want to bring those programs up to industry standards first, and then look to add programs. But it is a really exciting time, and it's a struggle to keep up right now with the demand, turning out so many students. I mean, I have waiting lists on various programs. It's not fun to tell somebody they gotta wait when they want to get out there and get career ready. We use a little phrase, career in a year, and that's basically what it is.
If I can add, so I don't know how familiar you guys are with Kimco Tech versus Fort Myers Tech, but Fort Myers Tech has a lot more of the blue collar steel trades, and we at K Tech, we've got 15 programs that mostly focus in the healthcare area, so the health science programs, we have dental assisting, medical assisting, certified nursing assistant, LPN, optometric assisting. We do have some other programs like electronic technology and digital design, but we do not right now have what anybody would refer to as traditional skilled trades. So when I talk about bringing in programs like auto service technology and welding, that's a big deal because we're the only college in Cape Coral, and we need to get some of those programs over there eventually to fill the demand like you're talking about.
Okay, what's your median age level for your students?
It's probably about 25 years old.
And yours? Very similar. And, we do take a lot of students from the Cape that come to our school because of that. And a majority of our students are coming from the East Lee County area. So it's out there. We're growing. I'm adding a fourth AST teacher this year. I'm adding a second turbine maintenance teacher this year. But I'm trying to do that in the square footage that I have to maximize our space. Because just getting a new building right now would take too long for me to meet that demand. But I do want a new building, don't get me wrong.
We can't just paint the old.
We've painted it too many times, I think.
Over the door to see the same writing from it.
Is this a 1-year program, 2-year program, 4-year?
Most of our programs are 1 year. We run on clock hours. So, the students have a certain amount of clock hours to complete in order to be certified or to complete the program. So it generally runs a year. Some of the programs run into the following year. But
The only reason I'm asking it, I've been teaching Tri-County Entrepreneurship Academy for 17 years now. And I know we're a 4-year program, but we're also only 1 night a week, where you guys are going 5 days a week. Is that correct?
Correct. And we do only level 1. So the level 2, 3s, and 4s will be coming to you if they choose to do that route.
Oh, okay.
And when he talks about clock hours, they literally clock in the morning at 8 a.m., they clock out for lunch for a half hour, they clock back in, and they clock out at the end of the day. So they get 6 hours a day, and you have programs that range from the nursing assistant programs, a 6-week program, all the way up to, I think, auto service technology would be one that's probably about a year and a quarter or something like that. But nothing goes up to 2 years. That's why we typically say career in a year, like you said.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to speak from the secondary perspective, which is middle to high school, where John and Charlie were talking to you about post-secondary. It's called post-secondary adult vocational. So those are those certificates beyond graduation. And due to capacity, because we're so limited at our technical colleges, we've taken several of their programs and brought them to our high schools. So we do have automotive. We work very closely with Tri-County and Christina Sardina through South Fort Myers High School. But we have over 80 different career academies at our high schools. And the 4 topics I want to briefly touch on that may benefit you, impact you, or something you may want to be a part of. The adjunct teaching model that Ms. Morgan spoke of is very near and dear to my heart, because the biggest issue, and we find this in our health services occupations, is getting those nurses to leave the field $80,000, $85,000 a year to come to us for $47,000. It's just a numbers game. And if you sat back and thought about it, you teach for Tri-County, you're not going to quit your day job, even though you may be super passionate about what you do and you want to give it to the next generation. So this adjunct model came out of, how can we borrow that time? And we've been working with the Lee BIA, and they're helping us as well, as maybe they can donate the time, and then we have a co-teacher model. There's a lot of intricacies involved, because for the amount of time a child is in a seat, the district gets money. And so what would normally work of, hey, I'll throw aside some of my budget to have somebody come in and train, it's a little bit of a different budgetary model for the district. So it's easier said than done. So that's why we're advocating for the state to come up with an adjunct instructor model that all districts could replicate, and that would also help us as we continue interspace negotiation with our instructional units, so that nobody loses their job because we're bringing in professionals, right? But you could be a part of that. If it does get passed, because we do need advocacy, you could be one of those teachers that comes into our classroom as a co-teacher, and you're passing on your expertise and experience to our students, and you're still making your full-time pay and keeping your leadership position. So I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we move forward, because we will need advocacy with that. The other opportunity, we call them our career advisory boards. We have one at each of our high schools. We just started them right before we went into quarantine. So there is an opportunity to be a part of them. We ask schools to have them twice a year. They're going to do it virtually this year before Thanksgiving. And it's a great way if you have students or children that are going through our school system and you want to weigh in. The ag program I'm very fond of, because we move some money around to help get that going out there at Riverdale and get that built. And so if you wanted to weigh in on that because your child is there and you can provide expertise, then the Career Advisory Board would be a great way to bring your expertise into our schools. The other thing is we're doing something called the Fielder Internship app. This is an alumni from FGCU who created a way for college students to interact with potential job opportunities. And so we contracted with him through a grant so that our high school students could apply for volunteering, work-based learning experiences, and internships. And this came out of a need from the community when we were out kind of promoting our programs. And they're like, how do I get my after-school jobs to you guys? And we tried sending them through teachers. It was a very inefficient model. What we'd like to eventually do with this platform is be able to attract our alumni. So how many of us here, I think Charlie, you're a graduate of Lee County Schools, 4 out of 4 of us are Lee County grads, and I heard some of you say that as well. Wouldn't you love to be contacted by us to say, hey, we got this idea we might want you to be a part of? We didn't know you were an alumni unless you said that. So one feature we'd like to add on is as you graduate, can we stay in contact with you? So that's another thing if you are offering a work-based learning experience or an internship that you may want to be a part of to connect with our students. And then the final thing, we're bringing career and tech ed down to the elementary level because we know how important it is for our youngest little guys to be excited about careers. And so we created this concept called the Excel Bus, and it's Excellent Career Exploration Lab. And they will actually go on a remodeled school bus that our wonderful transportation department donated, and we're having it all redone now. We're gonna have learning labs in there, kiosks. Some of them will be virtual reality. So we do still have some spots open for businesses, and we have a place for your magnet outside the bus. And this is going around to all elementary schools. Our 5th graders are gonna learn about career exploration, and then they'll get on the bus and interact with the different kiosks. So that's how we try to build a continuum from them, from elementary on up to high school, and then hopefully on to our technical colleges or our public service academy.
So is there a way for them to, while they're in their junior and senior years, to leave at half a day and work for a trade?
Absolutely. So the answer is yes and no, but not no in a bad way. So what John just spoke of is capacity. They get their funding primarily from how many adults, because remember, we're helping adults in our community get new skills or refresh their skills to increase their wage and their ability to work, etc. So we want our high school students to have access to that too, but if a high school student is sitting into that limited seat, we're limiting the number of adults. So we've tried to take and replicate those programs at various high schools so that we don't take away from the technical colleges and we give the same opportunity. So welding, if you know Mr. Greenwell at South Fort Myers High School, he's been around for years. He's done a phenomenal program out there. He's replicating a lot of what they would do. And some of our programs actually will transfer into their programs so they can go to the next level. So that's how but we do have students that dual enroll when the capacity is available.
Yeah, and the tricky thing on the dual enrollment is it's a full-time, you're there with us full-time. So they're gonna have to work a 6-hour day on my campus and then figure out how to finish up some of their core academics that they're also responsible for high school. So it's a really big undertaking for a student, and a lot of them can do it, it's not a problem, but that's just another obstacle, because we can't offer a half a day, if you will.
Our funding, we do not get any funding from the school district. And I know that we pay our own electric bills, we pay our own carpets, we pay for everything. And so when we give up so many seats, we get our money what is called workforce development. It's with is state money by completers and so on, and then we split that amongst all of us together. So if the COVID crisis is gonna hit us hard for next year. So we're in a 100% funding mode started this year, and the district gives us the buildings, but unless it's a half-cent sales tax, hard, completely whole air-conditioned system, something structural, we pay for the maintenance of the air conditioners. We pay for the door locks, we pay for everything, our own electric, water bills, and we have to balance that. It's like running your own business. And unfortunately for us, as you guys all being business leaders understand, but you can't control the salaries. Because the workers are spout and tout school district employees, so when they get raises or they get any bargaining, we have to abide by those upgrades, but if our WITIS funds don't go up, that means we gotta cut our programs down. So there's always this balance with what it is. Right now, we're maintaining, but if workforce dollars go down, salaries go up, that means we're not gonna be able to produce programs. So there's a balance that needs to be done there.
Do your students pay for continuing education and training
Yes,
on a per individual basis?
yes,
And that's factored into your budgets, right?
that is correct. That is correct. It's $2.92 an hour. So if you wanted to come out and use us, we have a full-time, Florida Southwestern has a full-time EMT program. We offer, because they could not keep up with the demand, we opened those doors up 2 years ago. Standing room only, waiting list, we offer the same thing. Reason why we're getting all those students, A, we're a part of a paramilitary organization. They want to become firefighters or law enforcement officers. They're already out there in uniform, structured. They're paying $2.92 an hour.
Sure.
So who are they going to come to? And they want to be by those instructors who are currently working for agencies to say, you're good, I want you to come and apply to my agency. So we have those benefits, but we only charge statewide. The max you can charge in the state of Florida is $2.92 an hour.
I think that's part of the problem. I think having a little bit of experience, because I helped build that public service academy.
Yeah.
The adult ed education program has always been a red stepchild to the school district, because the school district's main priority is K through 12. Funding for adult ed is kind of, an afterthought. It's always been, and you've moved up from the building you were at the Fort Myers Tech, that little building,
Right.
into the elementary school. That was like 4 times what you had before.
Yes.
But yes, there's a need for long-term capital planning for that. The problem is that the funding for it is not through the K through 12 system, it's through a different system. Maybe you build a school or you provide the funding and there's a way to pay that building back, because the main school district is K through 12.
Right.
Important.
Throughout the districts, and I know board member Morgan's aware that every school district handles it differently. I'm very familiar with it. And if they're right now using the law enforcement perspective, there's 40 law enforcement academies in the state. It's right now split about 50%. Either they're tied to a technical college, or they're tied to a community college, or they're tied to a school district. There's only 3 ways, or tied to a law enforcement agency, and there's 2. Metro-Dade has their own, and Broward Sheriff's Office holds their own. Okay, everybody else is tied to a community college or school district. Those out of the school districts, they have different ways they do it. A lot of them commit more to it. They just have the funds and they're able to commit funding to their schools. Paying for teachers. So that works for them right now. It used to be up until this year, we would give back 50% of our tuition to the school district, and they would pay our utility bills and everything. This year we said, we'll pay everything, because I think we could make it better. We worked that out with the school district. We're trying that. Actually, tomorrow morning is our first quarter meeting to say, is this working? And unfortunately, it happened during the COVID hit. So, as law enforcement, we only stopped in fire, we only stopped for 4 weeks, we opened back up. The needs there, we had to put people back into the hospitals, we stayed open, lived in those parameters. The 2 other technical schools, they had to close down and couldn't open up until about a month or 2 ago full. So we're gonna take a hit, statewide funding for us this coming year, we know that. We don't know what that impact's gonna be. But we have a reserve there, we do a great job, us 4 as a team with Dr. Swire and Budget Services, that we have about $1.5 million of reserve for that rainy day. If the state comes back and says, after elections, they say, we can't give you the money next year. So, but you're right, there's all kinds of models out there. I'm not saying what's right, what should be done right or anything. I'm just giving you the facts on where we are with the district. We're 100% funded by ourselves. We have to draw in make the money, just like a business like you do, and pay the bills. It's all great. There's some things we can't control, which obviously is salaries and benefits and stuff. So when they go up in our funds, we have to stay at 292, but the state doesn't raise it, then there goes our margin's gonna drop. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. But yes, sir, you're spot on with that.
This is where we are. I am personally. I live in East Lee. You're Fort Myers?
We're in the city of Fort Myers, yes.
Right. We're vocational, right?
Vocational.
I've got a whole bunch of kids out there. Their parents will want to get on a bus and go to this school. They don't like it. They don't like the idea of having their kids out of sight, out of mind. I got a whole bunch of kids at St. Just Riverdale, for instance. They're not into agriculture. They're into working on cars. They're into working on IT systems. They're working at integrated engineering. I mean, I can't pick the next president over there, and it's not fair to not give them that opportunity of learning. I can understand, I can sympathize with what you're saying because I was invested with Miami-Dade County Public Safety Department. So the idea here is to get your own application, but at the same time, have a dual use for the building. Since we're between Riverdale, Lehigh, what other big schools coming out there? That Gateway, right? To get out in that area, like you say by the airport, that would be just beautiful because the dual enrollment kids will make it work if you give them the vocation that they can use their hands. The idea is sitting there making a lot of them use their heads, they're just not into it. They just don't have that type of mentality. And what we're doing is we're robbing these kids in high school of getting interested to go to your school. Because they're working in the driveway with dad, and their attitude is, it's too hot out here, what do I want to mess with this for? What I see in Lee County is this. You guys are the home of Edison. You mean, you brag it up like there's no tomorrow. Well, what's right next to his house? What's right next to Edison's house over there? Ford, right? When we were in Broward County, Sheridan Vocational Institute, which is basically not fire and public safety, but more of the nursing and rehabilitation and stuff like that, we went to Ford and asked them to come down and take a look. Because the computer technology just started coming in about 77, 78. And asked them to come down with their technicians and help us set a school up over there to teach people how to work in their dealerships. And that school today, you can't get in, it's a 1-year wait. General Motors right next to it. So with all the car manufacturers out there, all the rest of it going on, and tell them, all these AMD and chip makers, they would be more than happy to come down here for that technology. My attitude with teaching is this, because I also teach. There's an old saying that goes like this: those that can't do, those that can't teach. You turn out 200,000 teachers a year in this state with VA degrees. The certification for welding, yes, is a 2-year program. So basically about a 2-year program. But I can get a 1-year program if I bring in Lincoln and Miller. Have them come in, bring their equipment in here. Because when my students graduate, what are they gonna buy? The stuff they were taught on. It's a selling point. I mean, you have to play this out to the end. But as far as you guys go, yeah, you need a facility. I mean, no offense, but you need a training facility. I mean, I've seen some of you guys drive.
And the world's changing, and I think that's part of the commitment that the board has made, is looking for that area east.
Sure.
You got the International Airport, Lewiston, and all those trades that are gonna come with that. And I think that's why it was selected over the south, and I know I've been on that side of being yelled at, taking a lot of hits for, so board members don't have to take it about why it's not in Benito. And it was really decided when we sat down is that East needs to, because of the international airport that's coming and the growth, and the trades that are not, that will
Sure, we
fit
got
that
50,000
area.
homes coming out there off of Palm Beach in the
Yes,
next
sir.
4 years.
So I think that's there. I don't know what that time frame is. I'm not really sure. You know, if you think of it this way, you know, they found a piece of land this year and then did a design and everything, you're probably 2-3 years out anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
I would say within 5 years,
Yeah.
we informed them
Sure,
about it.
sure.
That's-
How many acres are you thinking?
They have to decide, we went in there to say, what programs do we want? And I think they're looking more like this. This was my concept of traveling around, and I took them around the state, some of the design, that they go up with the traditional, and we have to have enough land spread out wise for all of the outside activities for the public service stuff.
Sure.
So they're gonna need quite a bit of acreage, but then you got parking, obviously, and you guys are the engineers and so on, you got all the wet, it depends on where they're at out there. You're gonna have all the boundaries that you're gonna need.
You probably have 15 acres out there where you're at now.
Yeah, so then you're gonna have to triple that or more.
It's hard to find an 80-acre lot
I know.
somewhere in Lake County.
I know, and I really don't know, you know, what the district's plan is, when it comes to that, but they have to factor in the parking,
No, I agree with you.
you know.
No, I think it's a very active plan, but it's actively being worked
Yeah,
on.
there's a couple 100-acre
Yes,
parcels
there
out there
are
that are
some
available.
parcels out there.
Dade County started out, Dade County Public Safety Department started out down at Miami-Dade College in the northwest corner with their driving academy back in the late mid-70s, I think it was. And then they expanded on that, and they moved down to the main place on 25th Street. Then they opened up their own academy, the fire academy on 54th Street, I think it was, and 37th Avenue. It just wore out. It's like the one you got over here, this little toy thing. It just flat wore out. They're only good for about 5-10 years. So I can sympathize with what you're saying, but I'm trying to parlay in my mind the dual enrollment factor. How would we work this out to where it was a dual enrollment for high school, middle school and high school? I mean, it has to be a certain age cutoff because of the equipment. But I mean, I'm thinking machine shop work, welding, engineering studies. I mean, most of the stuff I ever did for government, everything had to be tested and retested and retested, and that doesn't take just the guy driving a truck.
And we have that. I don't know if I was clear about that, and I apologize. We've taken a lot of that, especially hands-on, and brought those to different high schools. We try to have, like the bigger ones, welding. We have that for high school students in each zone, so that a child who wants hand-on. A few years ago, we started an outboard marine repair for Mariner High, because we found a lot of those students were skipping school to stay home and work on their boats from Pine Island. So to get them back into school, we got with Yamaha, and now Yamaha is big time into them. And we started with 2 engines out there. It was pretty cool, in like an old back room in Mariner. So we respond to the community. Lee BIA came to us and said, we need construction workers, and we will back you up with donations. We're gonna be implementing a masonry academy at one of our high schools next year. So the hands-on stuff is there. We have automotive in each of our zones at the high school level. And we're constantly adding, so.
That goes back to the the 11th and 12-year-olds should stay at the high school. They go over here to the adults, you're mixing, you know, 12th graders with adults, and that's not.
That's what I'm trying to work out in my head, how that's gonna work out.
It's capacity at the tech colleges, yep.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job, and I, 100% support you, as we helped build a lot of this.
But
But there's always been that issue with 12th graders, 11th graders, adult ed.
It's this, and here I'm gonna support and stick up for Charlie here at Cape Coral. I mean, I grew up there, I was born there, it's the largest city, and they have really the smallest technical college, and the only one. He can expand. I mean, he's got the property, it's money. It's what it comes down to. It's the board, who's making the decisions on what is growing. And right now, the move is to expand Fort Myers, which is the RQ, that's starting. Adding another technical college, and then where does Cape Coral Technical College fits, and what trades go to there, and what that order is. There's, I will tell you, Rita and them, if you have not been to the 3 comprehensive high schools to see, I was when I first came in and working at Cape, I saw what Ida Baker did. To see their auto mechanic at a high school, it's pretty impressive what they have. They're actually better than what we have at technical school. That's why we need better technical colleges and up and running and expansion, because they're newer. And, we have not, Lee County has not invested in a technical college, new and every other county has in this area. If you go to Suncoast Technical in Sarasota, phenomenal. Collier County is invested, and it's our time, and the board has made that commitment. So we're there, we're there to expand and look how fast we're going. It's what programs and what you need, and I think there is some properties out there, whatever that's gonna be, but it's gonna take a pretty good size piece of property. There's gonna have to be a plan on what they wanna bring, how high you can go up, what needs outside activities, and then decide what that piece of property is.
Well, and then if there's, like in the Cape, if there's land opportunity and it's, we have 11 and 12th graders that need programs, I mean, is it an opportunity where we could piggyback and build and have like a standalone thing that was for high school where the professors and the instructors can, tag team, because you need to still go to high school part of the day and then do tech the other part.
Well, I think Rita, they're already calling that the comprehensive. Okay. And Charlie's school site has land unused, already fenced in.
Right.
He can build more structure with good programs when the funds available.
We could replicate our current structure 2 times over. That's how much land we have. And that's why, since Todd mentioned it again, I'll put another plug out there. In the short term, if anybody here has any ideas or thoughts on how we can establish a partnership, I know you mentioned with Ford and some of the dealerships and that sort of thing. My vision or dream over the short term would be if there's a way, of course, with the blessing of the leadership in the district, to do a partnership with, whether it's San Galway, whether it's, because Fusila, I know they're selling right now, but do an auto service technology academy right there. I mean, I've already had my digital design folks do a rendering of it. I mean, it's very doable. It's just a matter of, where can we find that $1 million in startup costs?
So Charlie and John, Rita mentioned advisories at the high schools, the comprehensive high schools. Do you guys have advisories?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, isn't that where you start? I mean, you
Yeah, and we,
pull in people who are
Yeah.
not only interested in what you're doing, but also willing to solicit?
Yep, we're doing that process right now as we speak. So we have to have advisory, like she said, we have advisory committee meetings. They're required twice annually by our accrediting body, which is the Council on Occupational Education. So every program has to have at least 3 folks in the industry who come and meet with them and talk about wages, the needs, what the industry demands are. And so that process actually at both of our schools is happening this month. And so that's on the agenda, I know, for me to figure out, hey, where can we build more partnerships?
Again, since I'm fond of the construction industry, I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder if there's a way to reach out to the boards. Construction Industry Licensing Board, where, and the Inspector Board where, 'cause I know I've seen their reserves. But when you say, like if a contractor gets penalized and he has to pay a fee, why couldn't some of that money go to the statewide school district and it be split? I don't know where you would lobby that to go to.
What I'm finding is there is a lot of support and a lot of interest out there from the local industries. Our biggest barrier or hurdle right now is our facilities. So even though I might have some of the best equipment, I need a better facility to make that. I gotta bring my facilities up to industry standards. We are actively lobbying for those kinds of things all the time. But again, I use a term like, you can't put a cable into a HDMI, it doesn't work. So we gotta upgrade everything in order to expand our programs and to provide what we need. I have no doubt that we can obtain the resources and the communities will pitch in and the industries will help out. But that's only be beneficial if we can increase, our facility, or better our facilities.
And let me say that Superintendent Adkins wants every child to graduate with a plan, with a certification and a job on leaving or going to college. Every child will have a plan. 50% of our kids are not going to go to college. So we've got to figure out a way to make certain that 50% of our kids, and Rita mentioned elementary and getting into the hands-on thing, that kids begin to understand that there are things other than pure academics that will prepare you for life after. But we as a school district are absolutely committed to doing whatever we can do with the resources we have. And we recognize we're going to need partners. We can't do this alone. But we are committed to making certain that every child graduates with an opportunity to have a career. And even if they're going to college, they're gonna have a certification, just because we really just feel so strongly that you need that hands-on, real life experience as a student, so,
If you're looking east to expand,
yes.
east Elba or beyond, has anyone looked into any possible partnerships with Henry County?
I don't think that they were looking, actually, I just got on the phone with the Henry County, school district, because they were asking for some extension program for public safety. I thought the plan was close to the I-75 corridor for that easy drive, and make sure that it meets all the needs, even all through Lee County. And so the original plan was really the 75 Lehigh exchange corridor is where the goal is. The further you go in, then and if you have specialized programs there, you're gonna lose people from the west side of the county.
But also, one of the problems in Lehigh is infrastructure. So what you're looking for is a big piece of property, but also has access to all of the utilities and everything else you're gonna need. And that's where some of that development is taking place, near some of the pieces of property that we are looking at, so, that's.
So you would actually pick up more county, if you put a state-of-the-art training facility, indoor range, indoor live fire, and all that good stuff, you could actually pick up more county, continuing education and the rest of it, just by being in that area.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
You could probably pretty much double or triple your current enrollment.
That's correct.
And you can see, we've gone through that, you serve 5 counties, but one county is kind of providing your facilities. Has there been discussion with the other 4? I see they have no incentive and everyone's hurting a little bit in some way right now.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's,
So the way that the state, if you're talking about public safety only, okay, Public Safety Academy, the way that the state has it, you have to be licensed and approved by Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Fire Standards, Department of Health for EMT, and it's very unique that all that's under one roof, okay? To do that, you're right, somebody's gonna have to pay for the building. I don't think you're gonna call your county to say, hey, we'll help pay for it, it's not in our county. So the FDLE certifies the governing body who's gonna have that. And who's gonna be the certification. The Lee County School District holds the certification for the law enforcement, fire, and Department of Health for EMT. I don't think because I've been in it since I was 18 years old, you're not gonna get other county agencies to say, we're paying you to go there, and if we don't pay there, we'll go to another academy. They're not going to, or they're gonna want their own, and then there is a huge process for that. So I don't think they're gonna pay for a building.
well, paying for their own is vastly different than paying 10% of somebody else's,
Right, right,
we're not asking them to go
Right.
here and build it, but,
right.
have some skin in the game, throw in a little something, like maybe that starts,
Right.
getting the ball
Right, and again, those are discussions above me. I will just tell you that what that would probably push is then Collier County's been wanting to have their own academy with the state, and we have the right of refusal up front with FDLE, and we would, the only way another academy could come in our region, because there is one in Sarasota, it covers only the Sarasota area, is that if we can't provide the training sufficient for our region. If we start doing that, you're gonna see Collier's gonna want theirs, Charlotte County's gonna want theirs, and all of a sudden you're gonna have all these split academies all over the place, and then you won't have this public service academy as you have it. I wouldn't be in support of that, knowing the dynamics with Tallahassee and what that will cost. That would be, you would draw a lot of scrutiny in Southwest Florida for that, because nobody else in the state does that. But again, those a lot of those decisions are, going beyond that.
So I think the one priority would be, the first priority would be the land procurement, correct?
Yeah.
And then obviously the infrastructure and the construction of the facility. You say that happens, you're looking at next 5 years, you're saying to have a facility. Have there been any feasibility studies about procuring some land? And I know that there are some, for instance, like life safety, there's actually some modular structures that they use for, EMS, fire, put it up there and start generating some revenue quickly, so a little sooner, and you get some kids in there, and then, you know, have that plan, and maybe get a little head start, and maybe gain some more interest. Just modular structures, temporary structures, I didn't know if that's been, I don't know, just thinking aloud. Trying to get things up to a jump start.
Especially where you have land, like, okay, it's more of a white collar type of training that is a little more conducive to being in.
Right, I mean, you go through development orders, I mean, process, you know, procurement of funding, I mean, that's just a long process that we can, you know, kind of get a jump start, at least getting some kids out there and start, you know, learning. It's not gonna be a big.
I know Dr. Savage and them are actively right now looking for property and then bringing that to the board with contracts to say, we found it. And until that is done, until they actually can find something, then I think those are awesome ideas. Can we get there sooner by doing this?
I hear you, and I'm telling you, we are aggressively
Yes.
in the process of acquiring property to do this. So, I mean, I can't be any more direct than that. I don't know exactly at what point we are, but I think we're a lot closer to acquiring property than we were a year ago.
Sure.
You know,
So,
I've been here I served for 3 superintendents, and I want to echo what Board Member Morgan said, is that Dr. Atkins is truly committed. You know, he lives in Buckingham, he's a farmer, he's got property, he gets it, and he is committed to this career every year. He understands that not everyone's going to go to the military, not going to go off to play sports, not going to college. He understands it, and with the boom here, he gets it, he visits us. He sees it, the board members are actively engaged. Out of all the boards that I have, and they've changed over the years, that they have really recognized and understand that our trades, we were behind, we're not behind, and we need to add.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, when I was.
Before it used to be.
No, I mean, when I was a senior at Fort Myers High, I remember by the time I was a senior, I didn't really have any classes, and I think it was JOC.
OJT.
JOT, and I would have to stay at school till 9.
That's right. You know, you got, and Rita Shop and what they do at the high school level, and the programs they have at those schools, they have that divide to keep those students together. Use this as an example, as what you said, sir, they have the school district with 3 comprehensive officers, they have a firefighter 1 program. And they start them, they have a criminal justice program and a firefighter 1 program. The firefighter 1 is very popular. It has blown up since I have been there, and we partnered with the school district with that. They start out as sophomores into this firefighter 1 certification program. They end up picking Rita, how many come from each school at seniors? 12 qualifying seniors, and they come to the academy in full uniform, no different than our other, you know, we have firefighters in a certain uniform, EMT in a certain, law enforcement, corrections, do flag at 9 o'clock every morning, and you wouldn't know the difference when they were standing there next to our adults. They come out there as seniors, and when they graduate high school, they graduate with their firefighter 1 certification. High school, they're guaranteed to get within the next year, if they want to truly want to consume a career firefighter, to get into the fire 2 or EMT, they're certified and employable probably by the age of 19.
Yeah, wow. I feel like.
So it's an outstanding program, and that was Dr. Atkins, that was the saying, we need more public safety.
Yeah.
The problem with law enforcement is you gotta be 21, carry a gun. All right, so you're not gonna get that from the school. There's criminal justice programs there, and we steer them towards the corrections. Like I was 19 years old, 18 years old when I started corrections. You know, you get your butt kicked a couple times in there, you grow up, and now when you turn 21, you go on the road.
And we have a program with Fort Myers Police Department called Pathways to Policing with East Lee County High School's criminal justice program just because of that. So they nurture the relationship from high school, then they offer internships until they meet that age requirement. And if they've met all the requirements, they sponsor them to go into the academy. So we're constantly trying to create this continuum. We've been doing it the last few years from high school on out, but like I said, this year we're moving it down to elementary just to create the spark or the interest in.
I think I don't wanna say guilty of, what we could do a better job at is market what we're doing. And I mean, honestly, and the work, 2020's, it's been rough for everybody, let's just face it, the COVID, the pandemic really put us like, but a lot of the things you guys are thinking is probably already being done in some form. We're just not selling it as much to the community and to those who already know it. I think we need to do a job, and I think that was something that obviously, Board Member Morgan and obviously the women who are involved in that is to get with the, information, our communications section and start selling these, what we're really doing it, because it's already happening. It's just that I don't think a lot of the community really knows what's going on at the schools, and just like you, with your background, sir, and I get it, my daughter's up at the Pentagon, I understand it. And with your background, there's a lot of things you keep secret, there's a lot of things you don't keep secrets.
I just find it amazing that some of the stuff I'm hearing, because when I came over here from Miami, one of the reasons I came was for the school.
Right.
Because of your dual enrollment issue with the colleges.
Right.
And half the stuff that's brought up in this meeting, I never even heard of it before.
Right.
Presented at the school, even in their open deal they have, welcome to the school. Some of these programs that you're talking about, I have not seen any of them in a couple of high schools I visited. And I'm trying to wonder, okay, where's the welding class at? Where? Tell me.
I think it would be.
South and east.
South and east.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think on that note, it's something that would be really helpful, because there's a lot of people that wanna help out, but there's just no real understanding of how to do it, or where to,
I've got kids out there that are crying on my shoulder because they want me to show them things, and I can only go so far with them. I'm not certified like this gentleman to say, okay, well, here, you can go weld or drive a backhoe.
I think it would be good for
there's
this,
a comprehensive list
this
of.
panel to maybe go visit each of the technical schools. Okay, and come to the 3 comprehensive high schools, so you can see what you actually have right now.
And it's all 15, I'd just like to say, Todd, we're putting carpentry in at Gateway High. It's all 15 in 2 of our charter schools. That's how much we've expanded. We have a brochure we put out every year. It's also on our website that I'd be happy to share all the information. Plus my contact, because we need career advisory board members. That's a great way to get into the school. And we need folks to get interested in our field or internship app. And then eventually, hopefully, our adjunct teaching model. So we got lots of ways you can help. So please get my contact information and reach out.
What you see here, us 3 have these twice a year. We do a breakfast. We have the marine mechanics, we have a chair for that marine, those 2 or 3 members, they're sitting, they meet with those teachers after that, keep them going, making sure they're all focused. So everything that is here happens, it's happening at these technical colleges. And they have to meet twice a year. So they're on our sites.
So with that note, can we make a note from Ms. Harbert to put some email addresses so people can reach out individually if they do know organizations that are helping in certain regards, into the minutes? Sure. To be distributed internally. Bob's getting twitchy here, I guess he would get twitchy.
25 seconds,
Where is your marine at? Which one? Fort Myers. Fort Myers. Yeah, my son's gonna want to go there in 2 years.
Yeah, that is an outstanding program. The teacher, and Rita mentioned Yamaha, we just, were able to acquire some engines from Yamaha. They made a commitment to us, and our instructor is gonna take them through all 4 certification phases for Yamaha. And some of the dealers donated, because obviously, they're gonna benefit from that with their technicians. And now we're looking for a night school class to where the dealers can send their technicians over to my school in the evenings after they get off work to get, Yamaha certified.
Sure.
And you
Y'all bring the diesel, y'all do diesel mechanics too, or?
Diesel is what is on my radar to bring back. They used to have it there at Fort Myers Technical. For whatever reason, it's no longer there. But I think based on our industry surveys and things, it is a very high demand.
Diesel and.
But again, that's an issue where we got to, once we get our other programs up to industry standards and we build the capacity within our school, we can up our enrollment a little bit. Now we're gonna generate some revenues to bring in diesel, and we gotta do it right. I mean, you gotta be able to get either a diesel truck off the ground or get underneath it underground somehow, so you gotta build that.
Not even really a diesel truck, equipment.
Just equipment, period.
Just equipment, period.
Are you EPA certified out there at your shop? I mean, you got all the permits for the EPA and all that stuff?
No, we do not do EPA.
No, I don't mean like that, I'm saying you're certified.
Oh, yeah. It's fine.
Evaluation,
Yes.
containment and all that good stuff?
Can I ask you guys a question? So going forward, you know, are there things that you would like to learn more about or things that you would like to tour? Because these guys are terrific. I put out the call a day and a half ago and I said, you all are interested in vocational tech and I'm not gonna be able to talk about it. And they've come and I think done a good job sort of, you know, giving you an over.
We were told yesterday at 3.
Yeah. So, it helps from a planning point of view. If there are things that you are genuinely interested in this committee that we can bring staff in to really provide, you know,
Well, from my standpoint of view, what I've developed, and your law enforcement criteria, even in, the vocational end of it, I just assume have these manufacturers come down and meet with our local people, our local designers and architects, and have them kind of represent what they would want for upgrade state-of-the-art facilities. And have our local people here draw it up and put it on paper. Cadwell, I'm sure you've heard of Cadwell. Cadwell makes one of the best gun ranges available in America, and I don't think I'd want to put one in without having their best boys come down and show me what they would recommend for a police training facility. At the same time, the Ford and any of the big motor manufacturers, it's nice Yamaha gave you some motors, but Yamaha has diagnostic test equipment they may not have given you yet.
That's part of the certification that we're working towards.
Right, and what happens is they have a certain way to set their shops up for training, they've done it all over the place. And before we just jump the gun and say, well, we're gonna build this square box over here and this is what we're gonna do inside of it, I'd like to get some input from these people, you know, see if we can scratch some of their bank accounts and get some money out.
and I absolutely agree, and that's where I think the advisory committees belong, because, you know, your community, you're talking to us about what you need, and then it's our responsibility to work with you to bring these people in to provide the
Sure.
materials that we need to run these programs. So
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But in terms of this particular committee, there's a meeting a month from now, I assume. Is there something, you know, is there anything else we can bring you in this particular, I mean,
It would be good to go out there, I just don't know if a month is too short notice to kind of set it up, I know it has to be.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look around, I'd like to take a look at it.
I'm out. I'll stay in a open invitation.
Do you want to try to do next month's meeting at Fort Myers Technical College? Just to kind of go through their existing facilities and see what's not.
Would you mean like an evening meeting like this?
Yeah,
So we could arrange that.
That works?
We could do that as far as filming it. I don't know how that works out.
As long as we took notes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, if that's not an issue, then it's not an issue for me.
Is it really even a meeting, or is it more just a?
yeah, basically you're doing a tour.
Right.
And then you'd have a place where you can sit and sort of debrief.
Yeah, maybe like a
Time.
15-minute
Yeah.
technical
Sure.
paperwork
Now, in the
meeting
evening-
at the end of the tour.
Yeah, I might take a look. In the evening, there, you know, everything's gonna be locked up and closed, so you're not gonna see the hands-on and the students and the teachers engaging. But you could come, we do this a lot, so you could do this even during the day if you'd like. So either way, it depends on what you wanna see.
Well, I mean, I don't think we want to be intrusive to
No,
operations.
we do
either,
it,
so,
we do tours quite a bit,
yeah.
so that would not be a problem.
Right, obviously you guys are working, if you wanted to come earlier and actually see students
Yeah.
and see the activities, you could do this at lunch and they feed you lunch, and we have,
Yeah.
obviously each
Culinary
program
program.
has a culinary arts program.
Right.
So you can do a lunch during that time, and maybe that's easier for you to break away during, you're gonna eat lunch somewhere. So maybe you can, you know, stick out another half hour of it, have you come to each of the sites if you want. You wanna come see what we did, since I took over the money we put into that site from.
Only if we have to
Need
tell.
an open invitation, but-
Yeah, I think maybe just ask the question of all of the committee members, you know, this is what we discussed, you weren't there. We are considering either an evening or a daytime, whatever, and, you know, what is your preference, and tell them to get back to it very quickly, and.
Yeah, just shoot an email, I'll be there, just shoot an email.
I tell you,
How
it's,
far up the technical ladder does your school go as far as, technology?
We, most of them, like Mr. P said, most of ours is a skilled trade, but
Okay.
we do have some biometrics, we do have some .NET, which is, you know, kind of coding,
Right.
those kinds of things. And we don't have web design, I believe he has the web design. So we're not as tech as Cape Coral would be, doesn't mean we don't wanna be.
Right.
It's just we're kind of, our culture has kind of been that skill training.
High
And we have all
school goes up.
nursing, we have all nursing programs, all the nursing.
High school, we go very high.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
High schools, we go very high. We have Dunbar High, which is
Dunbar is
very
amazing.
advanced. And then we will be adding applied cybersecurity due to labor market needs at Gateway High, but here's the issue. We couldn't find an instructor.
Right, that's the big
They
hit.
didn't want to take the pay, so we're back at it. Same with outboard marine at Mariner.
They're hard to
I was
train.
literally at a boat show handing out flyers a couple years ago because we went through 3 instructors because they couldn't believe the pay. So we had the equipment, we had the students, we had the school, we had the buy-in, and we couldn't hold the instructor. That's why this adjunct model is absolutely critical, especially at the high school level. So,
Yeah, we
And I would
currently
just
have-
say, at the local level, there's no reason that a trades group couldn't figure out a way. I've talked to Marshall Bauer, we haven't continued the conversation, but essentially, there's got to be a way where a trade group could donate to the school district sufficient funds or somehow to top off salaries. So, you know, we're ready to do something at the local level, and if we can't get it done, you know, lickety-split at the state level, which is quite likely.
Have you, just, I'm gonna throw this out there, have you tried taking an entry-level teacher and having one of these trades groups certify them?
yes,
On the job? Have you tried that?
we certify, if you work for a career and tech ed course, then you're open to our grant funds to certify. So if I hire you as a law enforcement officer to teach in criminal justice, and in that we're doing a certification that you normally don't fall, like, right now we're looking at a social media certification. I know that sounds bizarre, but because of so many things, cybercrime going on with social media, we're looking at getting our students certified in that. So if you came in as a law enforcement teacher and you didn't have that certification, my team and I would work with you on the curriculum and then get you the test voucher to get you up to speed so that you can teach those students. But we can't replace your years of law enforcement expertise, which over time you've built up, which builds up your salary. So that's where the gap is. We got new teachers, but
Let's
that
go
is,
back to the beginning.
okay,
Let's use Yamaha as a reference. Yamaha's pretty simplistic to me. So I come in I just graduated university. I need a job. I'm a certified teacher. I got my 4-year BA. What are you gonna have me do? Well, I got some skill set in mechanics. I bring Yamaha in and have them certify me as an instructor. Can't take more than about 6 or 7 months. Most of it's book learning for the first, 2/3 of the course. Second, third is actually hands-on. So that's what I'm saying, to build those skills there. Then based on that merit, if the class picks up, he's got more students than he does, I mean, it only makes sense, you know, the ratios. Something like that. There's a way around, there's gotta be a way around this.
Right, but then when you have the opportunity where somebody gets trained as a Yamaha tech, and all of a sudden the shop over here says, here, let me hire you on twice the pay with the school.
right.
Well, it goes back to the same statement here.
Well, I'll give you another analogy. We're one of 5 programs in the entire country, public programs, that have turbine maintenance. The only one in the state of Florida. And it has taken me almost 6 to 7 months just to find an instructor. Because the one that's gonna retire. Because they make so much money in field that there's no reason for them to come.
But back to Mr. English's model, if you take a teacher that's basically, certified to be a teacher and want to add that specialty to them, it's gonna be possible to lock them in and like, hey, we'll give you this extra certification, and yes, you will make more money down the road, but you're staying with us for 5 years.
Yeah, and we're doing something very similar to that, because we have a vocational certification for teachers.
Otherwise, you have to pay us for that education.
Right, yeah. So this person that I hired, they come in with 6 years experience in the industry. It may not be directly working on a gas or steam turbine, but this one came from military. He was a helicopter mechanic, which, the turbines are similar, they're just smaller. So he's going to actually go through the certifications and things like that, and we are able to make him a teacher without having education background, just because he has 6 years in industry, which is a vocational certification. And I think K-12 does the exact same thing.
We do, we're very lucky to have that.
All right, well, we've run a little bit past our time, so any closing remarks? We're gonna tentatively go via email to try to set up a brief meeting and a tour at FNTC at our next meeting in November, so I think we need a.
Yeah, thanks for coming, you guys really enlightened me, I just had no
If
idea.
you guys wanna do the day, just let if you want to, at lunchtime, if not, we'll do it at night, if you wanna see the interaction with the
Yeah,
students.
it would be a whole, you do whatever, I'll work with whatever you want, but it would be a whole different experience.
If not, you're just walking into a vacant room with a bunch of chairs, honestly, you're not seeing the impact. This is like, when you come to us, I want you to come out in the daytime and watch the men and, these men and women in uniform, and watch them, then we'll put you through the Sims room and let you get shot at. We take all the orders. After there's a shooting and they're saying, police, you made a bad decision in that corner second, we put them in the room, they said, oh my God.
I've been shot a few times.
What time do you finish your day?
3, we're done, the students leave at 2:30.
Okay.
We
I was just trying
started.
to see if we pick it back on a tour and then come back for the actual,
Yeah.
or we try to do it there. We'll figure something
Yeah,
out.
we
About a
got,
week or so, get it
we wanna have a
done.
meeting there, we have a room with enough AV recording to meet all the standards.
Okay, so as long as someone assists me with that, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
There's we have information, we have staff on these.
Okay, good.
Ryan, do you need a motion to ask for that?
Yeah, I guess a motion to start planning this event for our next month's meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Who
opposed?
seconded the motion?
Mr.
Mr.
English?
English?
Okay, thank you.
Keep in mind, what you guys do is very important to the district, so we support everything you do. I've been to all 3 of your schools, so.
Oh, yeah.
With the facility, I don't have to go to the buildings, I know.
You know the age and school.
I know I'm sorry for the word, the crap
I don't
facility
have
that
to
you
go.
guys are.
But,
I want you to come out and see what we've done though since.
Yeah.
Since what we did when and the palm trees were still laying over in the middle. That's.
Each and every one of their rooms.
Yeah.
And we're also, the district is investing in us, like I said, we're getting ready to go under a refresh and do some remodeling for our expansions and things like that. So they're stepping up and they're doing their part. It's just gonna be, it's gonna take everybody to get involved to really get us where we wanna go.
So with that, go around real quickly for a good of the order. Any last closing remarks?
Are we supposed to do the public comment at the beginning, like we did last year? Is there a reason that it got smushed to the end? We don't have any public comment. I'm just saying, like, you know how last year the agenda said, so we put it at the front so that
We
people
moved it
could.
in the middle of the
Okay.
year because it made more sense for them to comment on what was being presented.
Well, I thought the reason we pushed it up was so that they couldn't.
That's not the subject.
I know.
We pushed it up so we could hear public comments, so we
And then
were
address
working
it,
on
I
something
know.
where we had to vote on something.
But to not get stuck down at the end of the
We had public
meeting.
comment before we did our recommendation.
Right,
I
so,
think it's kind of a situational basis of where's it most appropriate that day.
okay, well, just to not have it stuck out the end of the meeting.
we don't have anything in the next several months, I don't think of.
No, we're just trying to set up our calendars and.
Well, I mean, recommendations for, where we need to recommend stuff to the school board, like we've had to in the past with science and stuff like that.
All right, very well, so with that, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jack, second. By Mr. Watkins, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Everybody
I'd say come on notes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, for just doing this on the.